Good morning and welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Chicago's online worship. I'm the Reverend Teri Schwartz. We are a Unitarian Universalist congregation, a community of youth, children, and adults, a people of many beliefs and traditions, bound not by the specific list of beliefs we share, but the values we share and the mission to grow our souls and heal the world. Whether you are joining us online for the first time or you've worshiped with us thousands of times, you are welcome here. Whether you believe in God some of the time, all of the time, or none of the time, you are welcome here. No matter how much money is in your pocket, no matter if you have a PhD, a GED, or no degree, you belong here. We are a people of many races and beliefs. We are a people of many genders and sexual orientations. All of you is sacred. All of you is welcome. You belong here. Due to the coronavirus pandemic, we must distance ourselves physically, but we can stay connected. In addition to this weekly worship on our YouTube channel, follow us on our Facebook page for fresh pastoral content during the week. We have several small groups meeting by phone and Zoom video conferencing for both connection and church business. To get involved, check your weekly email blast or contact the church office for more information. That contact information is on our website, firstuschicago.org. If the economic hardships of coronavirus are affecting you, the church is at your side. Reverend David and I can refer you to resources, as well as offering one-time grants through the minister's discretionary fund to the members and friends of this congregation. For more information, contact the church office. Throughout today's service, you can interact with each other through the comment section. Simply log into your account to leave comments, reactions, or to share prayer requests. If you don't have an account, be sure to make one, because after 24 hours of waiting, you can then interact as well as subscribe to the church channel and receive notifications. I have one special announcement today. Next week, on May 17th, we are holding a special, timely, and important congregational meeting. Given the loss of church revenue due to the pandemic, we must borrow from our endowment to meet operating expenses. This proposed loan will be repaid from a bequest that is forthcoming to the church. However, it is expected that the receipt of the proceeds from that bequest will take some time. Please join us immediately after the worship service via Zoom. Sign-in details will be sent via email. And now I invite you to be present to this moment. Let us enter into this service together as the prelude begins. Our words for reflection to open our worship today are from the Tao Te Ching, verse 15. The ancient masters were profound and subtle. Their wisdom was unfathomable. There is no way to describe it. All we can describe is their appearance. They were careful as someone crossing an iced-over stream, alert as a warrior in enemy territory, courteous as a guest, fluid as melting ice, shapeable as a block of wood, receptive as a valley, clear as a glass of water. Do you have the patience to wait till your mud settles and the water is clear? Can you remain unmoving till the right action arises by itself? The master doesn't seek fulfillment, not seeking, not expecting. She is present and can welcome all things. We come as a people seeking patience, waiting for the mud of our minds and our world to settle. We kindle the flame of our chalice that it might light our path as we look for the right action, for clarity, for peace, and for one another. For this hour, may we not seek nor expect, that we might be present and can welcome all things, if even for a short time. I invite you now to join in the reciting of our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. I invite you now to greet one another warmly in the chat box of friendship.
Good morning. At this time, please gather those who are young at heart, and your furry friends for a time for all ages and species. Thank you. Today's story is based on one we all know well, The Three Little Piggies, but today I want to think about this old story with a new lens or two. This is the story of the Three Little Kitties. It's adapted from different sources, including the 1922 Flora Annie Steele version. Once upon a time, there was an old mother kitty, and she had 3 little kitties, and when they were old enough, she sent them out into the world to seek their fortunes. Unfortunately, the first little kitty was just a little bit lazy. You see, he didn't want to work at all, and he built a house out of straw. The second little kitty worked a little bit harder, but she was somewhat unprepared, and she built her house out of sticks. Now, when they were done, they sang and danced and played together the rest of the day. The third little kitty worked hard all day and built his house with bricks. It was a sturdy house complete with a fine fireplace and a chimney. It looked like it could withstand the strongest of winds or storms. The other little kitties thought that kitty number 3 was wasting its time and effort. Now, I want to pause here for just a moment. What made kitty 3 able to stick with it and build his brick house? Well, one possibility was that it was his reaction to anxiety. For some people, stress and anxiety can do this. It can push them into getting ready and doing what they need to do to stay safe. Now, it's not always the most pleasant way to end up being prepared, but so be it. Our friend the anxious kitty was ready. Let's see what happens next. The next day, a wolf happened to pass by the lane where the 3 little kitties lived. Oh no! He saw the straw house and he smelled the kitty inside, and he thought that that kitty might make a fine snack. How terrible! He knocked on the door and said, "Little kitty, let me in." But the little kitty saw the wolf's big paws and answered back, "No, no, not by the hairs on my chinny chin chin." So the wolf showed his teeth and said, "I'll huff and puff and blow your house down so." That's exactly what he did. Oh my, that poor kitty. Well, next the wolf opened his jaws very wide and tried to catch the kitty, but luckily the little kitty escaped and ran to hide with the second kitty in the stick house. The wolf continued down the lane and passed by that second house made of sticks. He smelled the kitties inside, so he knocked on the door and he said, little kitties, let me in." But the little kitties saw the wolf's pointy ears through the keyhole and they answered that back, "No, no, no, not by the hairs and the chinny chin chin." Oh, the wolf showed his teeth and said, "I'll huff and puff and blow your house down." And so he did. Oh. Well, the only good that came of this was that the wolf tried to catch both kitties at once, and because he was trying to catch 2, he caught neither. Those little kitties scrambled away as fast as they possibly could, and the wolf chased them down the lane and chased them, and almost caught them, but they made it to the brick house and slammed the door closed behind them before the wolf could catch them. The wolf knocked on the door here and said, little kitties, could you just let me in, please?" But the little kitties saw the wolf's narrow eyes, and they answered back, "No, no, no, not by the hairs in our chinny chin chin." So the wolf showed his teeth and said, "I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house down." Well, there it is. He huffed and he puffed, but he could not blow this house down. At last he was so out of breath he couldn't huff and puff anymore, and thwarted at last he gave up. The kitties were safe because of kitty 3, our dear prepper 1. His reaction to his anxiety, once looked on by others as foolishness, saved him and everyone around him. What about kitty 1 and 2, who were just getting by at the beginning? Well, for them, stress forced them to make do with what they could, and sometimes stress is this way too. I love how kitty 3 never turns away kitty 1 and 2. Let's think a little bit more directly how this relates to us today. We might feel we look silly taking precautions right now and making cat videos for the internet, but stress is doing its job. by pushing us to take great lengths and measures that will keep us and those we love safe. We are being Kitty 3. We're preparing for the worst, hoping for the best, and helping ourselves and each other in doing so. Thank you, and may you find safety behind your doorways. Don't worry, no animals were harmed in the making of this silly slideshow. All participants received fair pay in catnip. Thank you.
Friends, will you take a breath with me? And another. Sitting here in the bright sunshine of the churchyard, when I breathe in, I smell the flowers all around me. I smell the grass. I smell the dirt. I smell the world coming back to life again. It's good to be here with you, even just for a moment, even separated, even virtually like this. Will you join me in a spirit of prayer and meditation, and wherever it is that you are right now, be there. Settle into your place. Let it hold you up. Let it support you the same as do the stones of the church when you're here in person. Spirit of life and of love, God called by many names. This morning, our hope and our prayer is to remember and to recenter ourselves again, to ground ourselves back again on the solid ground of our hopes and our values and our community. Our hope and our prayer this morning is to remember that we aren't alone, even though we're isolated. And even while days stretch out into weeks and hours grow too full or too empty, we're all in this together. We're not alone. And we're still held in a love that's larger than ourselves. And our hope and our prayer is to remember it, because it's terribly difficult to remember that on some days, especially when worry and anxiety fills us up and there's no space for anything else. Spirit of life, spirit of love, spirit of hope, settle onto us this morning. Will you take a breath with me? And another. This morning we remember mothers of all kinds, mothers by birth and mothers by choice, mothers who've come into our lives, mothers who know what it is to get kids to piano lessons and sort the piles of homework, mothers who know what it is to worry over their little ones. We love you. We see you. We're with you. Our hearts this morning are with all those whose primary spiritual practice is caring for children. It's hard work, made harder in this moment right now. We see you and we love you. Our hearts are with everyone isolated, everyone alone, everyone for whom the days stretch long and lonely. Our hearts are with everyone whose houses are too small for the number of people contained in them right now. When life is too full, when everyone is too much, we see you, we're with you, we love you. Our hearts and our hopes this morning are for everyone whose lives have just been changed and turned upside down right now, whether that's job and financial insecurity, whether that's a massive disruption in the routines of your lives. It's hard, and we say that honestly and plainly. It's hard. We see you, we love you, we're with you. I invite you in the chat to add the names of anyone you wish to lift up in the love of this community today, remembering that the chat is public. We don't have to go this all alone. We can do it together. And I invite you to share your joys and your sorrows equally. You don't have to do this all alone. Whether your companions are big, furry, silly animals, or whether your companions are the people you're with, whether your companions are the people you're separated from, but holding close in your heart, you're not alone. We love you. We see you. We're with you. Amen.
Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Speak for me, speak for me, speak for me, oh my soul. Speak for me, speak for me, speak for me, oh my soul. Dance with me, dance with me, dance with me, oh my soul. Dance with me, dance with me, dance with me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, I'll comfort you. Comfort me, oh my soul.
Our sacred text for reflection this week is chapter 15 of the Tao Te Ching. Do you have the patience to wait till your mud settles and the water is clear? This perhaps always appealed to me because having clear water, or a clear mind in this case, doesn't come easily to me. I usually have endless tasks of to-dos, things to do, people to see, appointments, all running in my head at once, and my mind can become really good at multitasking and remembering things. But when it comes to being mindful, it's far more challenging. I've been wondering during this time of pandemic if meditation and self-care is a real luxury, and feeling kind of guilty if that's the best use of my time during a really strenuous and demanding time. My meditation teacher was reflecting on this question, and he responded in a way that I think is really wise. That what we do to show up for ourselves, for clarity of mind, has a direct impact on the people around us. So even if we're not living with other people, we interact with one another, even in quarantine, whether that's by phone or by computer, or even a stranger 6 feet away on a walk outside. So I found it really interesting going back to this text to find that even in the translations themselves, there is this connection between the inner undisturbed state and the outer state. So in my preferred translation by Stephen Mitchell is the one that I just read to you. Do you have the patience to wait till your mud settles and the water is clear? The second translation I want to share with you is just slightly different. It says, who can wait quietly while the mud settles? Now, this is a question. The first one is directed directly to the reader or the listener. Now, this one is bigger. It's saying, who among us in our whole community can do that? Now, the third one, I think, is very interesting. The second one is translated by Ju Fu Feng and Jane English. The last one I want to share with you is who can by stillness, little by little, make what is troubled grow clear. So in the original text, there is a connection between, and it can be interpreted in English in all these different ways, that what is happening in our internal state can then affect what in the external world is troubled to grow clear. So there's wisdom deeper in that language that as English readers we wouldn't necessarily see without hearing these multiple translations. And I think that's really fitting for a mindfulness practice, and how we show up for ourselves. As someone who lives with and manages chronic pain, I had the realization a couple of weeks ago during this quarantine that supporting clarity of mind and mental health and spiritual health requires more than I did pre-quarantine. And a physical metaphor made this really clear. Most of the time now, I do pretty well with very little pain as long as I'm getting enough activity and enough stretching and physical care for my body. Sometimes, maybe once or twice a week, I need like a prescription strength ibuprofen. And then a couple of times a year, I need a very strong prescription medication to get me through a pain flare. So I was kind of thinking that my mind should take care of itself, that this is the equivalent of a mental pain flare, but I should just be doing stretching extra well that I would usually do, and that should be enough. Well, that's not true in our physical body, so why should that be true in our mental health? We like to think that our minds will just take care of themselves, but that's not true. We have to take care of them just like any other part of our bodies. And this is wisdom that goes back millennia. So we think about these in neurological terms. Because of our scientific research and discovery, this is a great way for us to understand what's happening neurologically. And it's fascinating and opening all sorts of ways to treat the mind and treat mental illness and promote health and wellness, which then has a direct impact on our bodies because it's interconnected, and then on our being in the community. But for millennia, the careful observers of the human condition in our religious traditions have known this to be true. And in every religious tradition, there are contemplative spiritual practices to bring calm to the mind and the nervous system. So in the Western tradition, these are chants, the monastic communities, Lectio Divina, which is a contemplative form of reading sacred text in a meditative way, meditative forms of prayer. Church music is part of that, and that's something we practice here at First Unitarian. And in the mystical traditions throughout the world, there are ways to tap into this physical reality of how our bodies and minds are wired. And so it is an important practice. And I like to think that if I do a little bit, then that's all I need. And it turns out not to be true. It's very much like exercising. You start like, I'm going to start this new exercise plan. And I've worked out really hard for 3 days now. And I'm really disappointed that I'm not in super great shape. It takes time. I know when I meditate regularly, it takes me about 4 weeks before I start to notice a difference in how my brain is functioning. And it's somewhat like riding a bike, a balance between a certain engagement and a certain just utter presence, and stepping back from the usual patterns of thought. And that's a new way of functioning neurologically. And it can be tremendously transformative. So I was thinking about that this week and thinking about this metaphor of the mud or the sediment settling. And so I created an experiment to see what this looks like visually. So in the church garden, I poured sand into a large vase. And when I started this project, I thought that it would settle in about 10 minutes, and I was going to make a neat and tidy time-lapse video that would show A to Z, 10 minutes done, and I would then make it even shorter for the purposes of worship. It turns out, just like my thoughts about meditation and exercise, there is no instant gratification here, and this is a far, far better metaphor and example for the reality of mindfulness and use of spiritual technologies and practice. So we're going to go outside to the garden and see how our experiment has gone. Now, I thought it would settle in about 10 minutes, and that would be that. And it has taken 22 hours to get to this point. And you can see, you still can't quite see through it. It will probably take another 24 hours to become completely clear, because that's a lot of sand and a lot of sediment for a relatively small amount of water. So like the sand in this water, it takes time for us to care for our minds and our spirits, and to do so regularly. So let's go back inside the church and have a little practice together at a couple simple breathing exercises that can help ground and center us in a way that we can build on bit by bit, day by day, to help our mind go clear as well. I want to teach you a technique called square breathing. This is something I've used in the hospital with patients when I've served as a chaplain and on a detox unit. The beauty of it is it's very simple, and it does work pretty quickly to calm our nervous system, slow our heart rate, and reduce our blood pressure. So I invite you to get a little comfortable with where you're sitting. Feel the points of contact with the chair or the floor. Wherever position, if you can keep your spine straight and something grounded on the floor, that will help. Take a few deep breaths to get started. Calm yourself and put your hands gently in your lap. You can find a point to gaze at, or you might want to close your eyes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you gaze at the rose window if you like, because I know for many people it is an image of beauty among our community and one of contemplation. Now for square breathing, you'll inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, and exhale for 4 counts. Wait 4 counts, and then inhale for 4 counts. So on and so forth, like you're tracing the path around a square. Now, everyone's exact counts may vary. Your pacing of your counts based on your lung capacity and how you're feeling that day. But to demonstrate, I'll count you off so that we can all take a few breaths together. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Wait, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. One, 2, 3, 4. So you can adapt this for your own pace depending on where you are at in a given day and your mood and how your body is feeling. Pretty quickly, because we have control the voluntary aspect of our breathing, we can then use that as a tool to impact how our bodies and our minds are functioning. And when we do that, we start to be able to see our world and those around us with greater clarity. It may take time of working on this every day, and it may take time in every session before we really notice a difference. I had a student at one point who was practicing meditation with me, follow her practice for a couple of weeks, and when she met with me for further direction, she said, "Okay, I've been doing it, what next?" And I said, "Well, we just keep doing it." And she said, "But I finished doing it." And I said, "Well, you kind of keep doing it for the rest of our lives. It's like walking or eating nutrition, breathing clean air. These are things that we need in an ongoing way to replenish ourselves. And we often think that our brains will just take care of themselves, but they need care just like every other aspect of us. And when we care for ourselves, that has a really big impact on the world. And that is true. In the writers of that sacred text, remember that the same words pointed to divergent realities that are interconnected. Do we have the patience until our mud becomes clear? And then by stillness, little by little, make what is troubled in the broader world clear. And there couldn't be more of a time when the broader world is troubled. And that time calls for even more clarity of mind and peace that we can cultivate in our own bodies, minds, and spirits. And may a bit of that peace be with you now and in the week to come. Take care.
Thank you for joining us today for our online worship service. It's always a pleasure to be with you together in our sacred space online. Something that I have been really missing during this time is potlucks, like the Celebrate at First events that we had for Christmas and Valentine's Day here at church. Those Sundays were such special opportunities for us to gather, to share our favorite foods and desserts, and to enjoy each other's company. One of the great things about potlucks is that everyone brings something different to the table based on what they have to offer. Some may bring the main course that they cooked from scratch at home. Others may bring a dessert that they picked up from the grocery store on the way. And some people, like me, may be the ones bringing the napkins and the cups. But here's the thing. All of that, even the napkins, are important. Each part, big or small, is important to the meal that everyone shares. This year, I want to encourage us to participate in our pledge drive like it's a potluck. Whatever you can manage to pledge this year, big or small, means that all of our friends and members can benefit from our church. From worship services and small groups to the literal potlucks that we hold, your donation in our pledge drive is part of the collective effort that makes everything happen. To make your pledge for this year, you can go online to firstusechicago.org and click on the donations button at the bottom of our webpage. If you're interested in making a one-time donation to our church today, you can do so on that same page, or by texting an amount to 773-900-900. 6051. Remember, all are welcome today and every day in this sacred space, no matter what you bring to the table. We are so grateful that you are here. May we be worthy of your gifts.